What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptor Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors, but before we do that, Merry Christmas to everyone. It's Monday here at the time of recording. I'm recording this off camera, of course, sitting in my room. I'm feeling a little bit tired, feeling a little bit lazy as well, still holiday season. But let's talk about the Raptors because we got some news updates about some players that they could potentially trade. But before we get into today's video, I do want to give a shout out to Morse Code MC. Thank you so much for supporting this channel to your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. So it's being reported by Shams Charania that the Bulls, Nets, Raptors, Trailblazers, and Wizards will be sellers ahead of this year's trade deadline, according to Shams Charania. A lot of talented veterans on these rosters who could help contending teams. This was being tweeted out by Evan Sidri. Now, this should really not come as a surprise to anyone that watched the Toronto Raptors, even listened to the press conferences before the season even started. This was supposed to be a season for the Toronto Raptors in which they were obviously going to tank, but also showcase some of the veterans and sell off some of the pieces they had. And of course, you take a look at the standings and how well the Raptors are doing this season. They haven't been playing great as of late. They've lost 10 straight games. They currently sit at 7 wins, 25 losses. And they are second last, only to the Wizards, who, of course, are going to have a terrible season. We knew that coming in. But this shouldn't come as a surprise, guys. And with respect to Raptors, I'm a Raptors fan, but a lot of my standings had them finishing 11, 12, 13th. And a lot of people questioned me then, and this was the reason. And one of the reasons I had the Raptors finishing so low in the standings was because of the injuries they have always had, but just some of the players that are surrounding, the Raptors in their starting lineup. Their success of that team is heavily dependent on the starting lineup. And as I said, preseason too, the Raptors are going to have injuries and they're not going to do so well this season. But let's talk about some of the players and what the Raptors could get back in return. So it's being reported by, of course, tweeted by Basketball and Next. Shout out to them. And it said veterans believed to be available for second-round draft compensation, according to Stein Lines, of course, Marc Stein. The Wizards, Jonas Valanciunas, Wizards, Malcolm Brogdon, Raptors, Kelly Olynyk, Raptors, Bruce Brown, and Jazz's Jordan Clarkson. Now, I did tweet this out. It just sucks because for a team like the Raptors that really want to sell off some veteran pieces, this is probably the worst season to be sellers because there's going to be a ton of buyers and it's a buyer's market. I mean, you look at what someone like Dennis Schroeder went for. He went for 3 second-round picks. And, in other seasons, you could argue he would probably be worth a late first-round pick. And, of course, we saw the Lakers trade yesterday. We saw Dorian Finney-Smith go to the LA Lakers. Now, apparently, the Nets reportedly turned down a Grizzlies first-round pick, which, again, it was a heavily protected first-round pick. Kind of sounds crazy to me that they turned that down. But in terms of the Raptors, let's focus on the two players here, Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown. Kelly Olynyk, he does make a decent amount of money. I'm not going to say too much. I believe around $12, $13 million, which is still tradable. He does have one more year left on his contract. He's about, I believe, 32, 33 years old. He's someone who's going to stretch the floor. He doesn't play defense. Obviously, we've seen the Raptors give up a ton of points the last couple games, and I'm not just solely blaming that on Kelly Olynyk, but he's not a great defensive player. That's just the truth, and he's getting older. He's got injuries, and I hate to say this because I really like Kelly Olynyk. I feel like his contract, if the Raptors do not trade him this season, is going to end up aging, and I'm not comparing the two players, but like Chris Boucher, similarly to how you've kind of seen how his contract has aged throughout the season. So I know the Raptors have this mentality that they don't necessarily want to trade someone like Kelly Olynyk. At the moment, the front office is thinking that. And the reasoning behind that is because Kelly Olynyk didn't even hit free agency. He just re-signed with the Raptors before free agency. The Raptors also traded for him. And given Masai's history behind, of course, the DeMar trade just really shattered his reputation around the NBA. And for a team like the Toronto Raptors that doesn't necessarily attract a lot of free agents, it really, I don't think a lot of fans realize this, but it really does not look good for a lot of potential players that could sign with your team in the near future when you do trades like this. So again, you'll notice a lot of GMs do not do this. A lot of executives don't do this where they sign players and then trade them halfway into the season. It's just not, it's kind of unheard of, particularly for teams like the Raptors, because like I said, they're not attracting a ton of free agents and it kind of scares off potential suitors in the future as well. So I personally think the Raptors should absolutely try to trade Kelly Olynyk, but will they trade him? I doubt it. In terms of some of the other players, though, we do have to talk about Raptors' Bruce Brown. He did make his season debut yesterday. He had knee injuries he's been dealing with during the offseason. He got knee surgery last minute, and then he's actually made his debut just yesterday, finally. He played 20 minutes, got about 12 points a game, and looked pretty decent, considering he hasn't played for quite some time. But I I'm going to go on a far stretch here and say that the Raptors should be greedy, showcase him a lot more because when you watch Bruce Brown, he's not just a role player, he's someone that can play with the starters. And one of the hardest things to do in today's league is to be a good role player amongst star players. So when you look at, the Denver Nuggets back then, why did Bruce Brown look so good is because he can play off of star players, which is why a lot of teams like the Lakers are interested in him as well. But I'm not sure if the Lakers can make that trade. Bruce Brown is making $23 million. So will they make that trade now? It seems less likely. But in terms of the Raptors just wanting to trade Bruce Brown, I will say that the Raptors have to get greedy. If you're trading him for 2 second-round picks, that's not a great return, let's be honest. And this is going to be a little bit harsh, maybe a little bit bold, and maybe not a lot of Raptors fans like this. I personally think if you're not getting decent or good value in return for Bruce Brown, and keeping in mind we also have to take money back as well, of course. And if you got multi-years and you're only getting 2 second-round picks, I don't make that trade. I'm going to be greedy. I like what I saw from Bruce Brown, and I normally don't like to overreact, but he is a player that could be a six-man for, probably a lot of contending teams. Now, of course, his whole contract is an issue, but if the Raptors don't get value for Bruce Brown on the trade market, heck, re-sign him, man. Re-sign him to a 3-year, $30 million. His $10 million or whatever you sign him to, $12 million for multi-years will look a lot better and tradable even in next season. And like I said, this isn't the best season to be sellers just because there's so many tanking teams and there's a lot of teams looking to sell. And just with the new CBA, unfortunately, for those, who may not follow the NBA strictly like this, is it's made it harder for teams to trade, but also harder for a lot of contending teams because of the second apron, and it has scared off a lot of teams because making trades has become so much harder. And it's just really unfortunate because for a league like the NBA that thrives on player transactions, that thrives on player movement, it has made it harder for teams, particularly playoff teams that are close up to their salary cap, to make trades. So again, not the best season to be sellers for that reason. And also just considering how hard it is to move players now with these new rules in place, a lot of contending teams actually do not even want to give up first round picks. So that is also a factor to keep in mind in terms of potential returns the Raptors may get for Bruce Brown. So again, I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think we should move off of Kelly Olynyk? I mean, realistically, we're probably going to get 1 or 2 second-round picks maximum and probably have to take salary back in return as well. Bruce Brown, what do you think of him? How did you think he played last game? What do you think the Raptors could realistically get for Bruce Brown? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And with that being said, let's get into our trivia question for today. And since the focus has been so much on the Raptors defense because it's been so bad the last couple games, let's talk about where do the Raptors rank in the NBA in points allowed per game? Is it A 29th? Is it B 27th? Is it C 24th? Or is it D 30th? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.